This company's never been more profitable.
You mean hugely profitable?
I like it.
DavePorter.com presents The Profitable Cleaner, a podcast on commercial cleaning sales and entrepreneurship. The one podcast that's not afraid to discuss real sales strategies with real cleaning professionals that produce real profits and real results.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to The Profitable Cleaner. Today is going to be super fun. I've been wanting to schedule this podcast guest for a while, and now we finally get him, the founder of Liderato and Unlock the Leader. Yigal, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you so much for having me and being patient with my schedule and finally getting it in, bro.
Well, even better, not only are we going to get him as a guest here, but we're also going to get him to come and speak to 20 commercial cleaning companies and really focus on unlocking the leader within. You excited to come speak, man?
I'm extremely excited. First of all, I know that Denver is a beautiful place. I've been there once. And second of all, just being able to speak to your tribe, I'm excited to serve and show up and have a great time as well.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have a good time, man. So tell us a little bit about Liderato, and what do you mean by unlocking the leader within? What does that even mean? I thought if I just had the title of CEO, doesn't that make me a leader?
Absolutely not. So, not even close. So just for people to know, I had my own business 16 years ago, retail, 70 employees, managing a chain of pawn shops. And I was essentially the co-CEO of the company. And just my life wasn't working out too well. My relationship with my wife, she was saying things like, hey, I didn't get married to be alone. I was 40 pounds overweight. I was pretending to work some days, just kind of like sitting there like, what am I doing? And so I went through this process of unlocking my leadership. And what that means basically is you can teach somebody how to delegate, how to coach, how to hire, how to communicate. But if you don't dive deep into their leadership and what needs to be unlocked, they can't use those tactics effectively. So I created a system called the Unlock the Leader system. There's 10 keys in it, which we'll talk about at your conference. And what it did for me is it improved my marriage. It improved my health. It improved my business 10x because I was able to show up, be present with my team, be clear, courageous, committed, and know exactly what I want and where the focus had to go. And so you can be a business owner and have no idea how to lead. You could be a manager and have no idea how to lead, especially because what happens in a lot of industries is that, it might happen in your industry. We're like, oh, you're our best, carpet cleaner. Let's make you the manager. But there's no training whatsoever on how to build a team, how to lead a team, how to deal with the crap you have inside your head. Right? So there's a saying I train on. It's leading with baggage is misleading. And I've got to be able to unlock that stuff, right? Unlock the past and be able to bring you to the present so you can actually lead in a whole different way.
I just got slapped for a second there. Woo!
That's good, man.
Say it again. Is leading with baggage?
Leading with baggage is misleading. Like you can't show up to your business having a crappy relationship, fighting with your spouse, being tired because you didn't sleep that night, being overweight, dealing with some issues that you had, from back in the day. It's hard to be present. It's hard to be clear because you show up with all of that baggage, and we'll probably do a little bit of a visual when I give the speech, but you show up with all that stuff on top of you, expecting people to be able to hear you. And then you get upset when they don't do what you said because they actually, the communication didn't happen.
Man, that is really good. I'm writing it down as we speak. So Angel, sorry, I'm going to cut you off. You probably have a question chambered, but all right. 40 pounds overweight. Your wife's asking, hey, where are you at? You're working too much. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I can relate to your story a lot. Where do you start? Like, where did you start? Like, what was day one with the transformation? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah. So the day one, I'll give you day zero, which my wife's like, I sat down for dinner, wife is crying, and she said, I didn't get married to be alone. Like those were the words. I have a nice house, nice car, nice vacations. Thank you so much. But you're coming home late. You're falling asleep on the couch. We have no physical connection. You're very like the words that you say are harmful. She's like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So I had to look at myself in the mirror and be like, dude, where am I lying to myself? Like, where am I not being honest with what's going on? So I created something called the Focus 4. And the Focus 4 are 4 areas of your life that day one for me was getting clarity on these 4 areas. One is connection, right? My relationship, my friendships. What is it that I want? Where am I today? What's not working and where do I want to be? The second one is my condition, is my body, my health. Because I guarantee you the healthier that you get, the more focus and clarity you'll have to make more money. Number 3 is my currency, which is my money, my business, my finances. And the last one is my conviction, which is my inner strength. Now, for those of you who are spiritual, it's if you're connected with God in some way, your spirituality, whatever your religion is. If you're not spiritual, it's kind of like the confidence in yourself, your discipline, those types of things. That's your inner strength, where when things are thrown at you, you can still walk through the fire and get stuff done. So the first thing was I just looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, dude, you're 40 pounds overweight. Your marriage is in shambles 7 months after you got married, like newlyweds. Your business is doing okay, but are you actually working to your capacity and your capability? Then my conviction was I have a lot of self-doubt, limiting beliefs, a lot of stuff that I need to get rid of in order to grow my company. So day one was getting clarity. Get clear, right? Get as much clarity as possible on where you are today, what is that you want. And then the second thing is being courageous. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is asking fear or telling fear to step aside because you're on a path and on a mission. Once in a while, fear is going to step in and be like, hey, what's up? You can be like, yo, to the side, my friend, I'm on a mission. Let's go. And so my courageous path was, how do I connect more with my spouse? How do I lose 40 pounds? How do I get so in tune with my business that I can take it and make way more money? By the way, that moment was $1 million revenue. We took it to $5 million in 12 months. It wasn't all me, but it was having that clarity of like, focus, let's go, right? That's the currency portion. Then my conviction, like I said, is like my mindset, what I need to do. And I've been studying leadership since I was 15 years old. I was blessed to be part of like a youth group that did a lot of leadership. I was a leadership development director for them at some point, and I had just forgotten how to lead. And so the last thing is clarity, courage, and then you've got commitment. Commitment isn't what you say, it's what you do. And so it's really nice to talk, oh, this is what I'm going to do, but it's actually like what you do. And so I was committed to losing the weight. I was committed to growing my business. I was committed to having a better marriage. I was committed to growing my conviction. When I committed, things got much better, less stressful, and with less overwhelm. And that's what I talk about, like unlocking the inside, right?
So this is a little sneak peek of what we're gonna be able to do in the event, huh?
Yep.
Of what we're gonna learn. Okay, well, sign me up. I'm already ready to take notes. Let me ask you something though. I think the hardest part from even like I'm thinking of even attendees that are going and thinking of past clients, and I'm thinking of myself even. In a lot of these things, it's like the hardest part is getting real with yourself. For example, if your wife didn't actually have the courage to tell you, yo, I'm actually alone, even though you're giving me the cars that, right? Like she could have technically stayed in that complacency bubble and not done anything about it, right? There's some women that won't speak, they'll just do, right? After a year of planning, boom, they leave. Or same as employees, right? They might just book it. My question is, and this might be a little more tactical, but how, if I'm a leader and I'm managing 200 employees, 100 employees, what kind of feedback loops, systems loops, or feedback loops can I set for myself so that I can actually have somebody that might be able to speak up? Because unless they speak up, I don't know, right?
Most of the time, it's hard to find somebody who's going to be as transparent as you are, and you need them to be. And so I do this exercise with my clients every quarter, every 6 months, because we start creating lies in ourselves that we start believing. So we don't necessarily need to create that feedback loop. What we need to do is get real with ourselves and sit down, piece of paper, the focus 4, and be like, what's not working? And then you get really courageous. You go to your spouse. Hey, this is the problem that I'm seeing. What are you seeing? Right?
Okay. So
And
you can do it on your own then. You
Yeah.
don't really need, okay. So you, I think like, I don't know who was saying it in a podcast. They're like, I think you know that you're not acting to your full potential when you're lying to yourself, when you're doing all this.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Okay.
When it comes to the team, Angel, you want to say like, hey, there's 4 areas of business that we concentrate on when we work with clients. It's leadership, marketing, strategy, and the epic experience of the customer, right? And so you can map out and go to your team and say, hey, this is what I think we're lacking when it comes to the culture of the business. What do you feel? Help me work together so we can take this to a better place. And when you sit with somebody and instead of saying like, hey, this is my opinion, what do you think? Your team's just gonna be like, hey boss, everything's okay. But when you actively ask and courageously ask, like, listen, I know things aren't great. And this is what I'm seeing. Do you agree with me, disagree with me? Or what can we do to work together, have that conversation so that we can make this better? And that's part of the courage, right? It's like,
Yeah.
part of the courage is having courageous conversations with your team and the people in your life. And actually admitting, and leadership is about like being transparent and saying like, I know this isn't working out. I know this isn't the best that it can be, but I need your help because I can't do this on my own. And that is what leadership is about. It's not about like standing on this island thinking that you can solve all the problems. It's about gathering the tribe on the island and saying, hey, how do we together get off this island or go hunt or create the food? Because you have people that have been with you for a long time who care about you in the business and actually want to help. And some then don't, and that's okay.
Now let me ask you something here. Let's say I'm hearing this and we have the commercial cleaners that maybe they don't have a big staff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just them. I guess, so you're saying that the first step, no matter what, if I don't have employees, the first step is get really clear with myself.
Yep.
What are some questions that I can ask myself to make sure that I get clear then?
Where am I right now?
All right.
Okay, what's
I know
not...
you kind of skimmed through them, right? So
yeah,
where am I right now?
Where am I right now? Like what's not working, right? The next question is where do I want to be? What's the vision? Like what is it that I want?
There. What if I don't know what I want?
Great. So you sit down and you map out. It happens a lot, right? A lot of the times people know what they want, but they're afraid to say it. You can also write down what you don't want, make that list, and you'll come to the conclusion of what you do want.
And is this materialistic or behaviorally?
Both.
Like both. Got
I
it.
just
So you're
sounded
laying
like
it all
a
out on the
13-year-old
table.
there. Yeah, both. I'm like, both. Going through puberty as I'm talking. So you lay it out on the table and you're like, what is it that I want? I want a business that is making X amount of dollars. I want a business that has this many team members. I want a business where I can work this many hours in. It's kind of like a wish list of what you want. But if you don't want, you can't create the energy to get it. The how doesn't show up yet. That's not the concern at the moment because someone's going to go into well, how do I do that? It's not your concern at the moment. Your concern is, where am I now and what is it that I want? And if you can't get to that, then have conversations with people, like really talk with someone and say like, hey, help me figure this thing out. That's what a lot of the coaching that I do is, what is it that you want? Because when you open that up, it's magic. It's like, oh, okay, I've got clarity. Somebody told me a couple of weeks ago, I was on a call and they said, Yigal, lack of clarity causes confusion and confusion causes inaction. And if you're listening to this and you're not clear, there's some type of confusion. And because of that, you're not taking the action that you need to take in order to make your life better or your business better.
That's big. That is really big and relatable. I relate to all of this because I've been there along this journey. Once you do get that clarity and you do have a vision of where you want to go, and I'm assuming from that you'll get some action items on what you need to do. When you start to feel that momentum and you start to see some results, how do you stay in the flow? Right? I mean, I've hit places where I get complacent because I get in a better spot, then I stop. Or maybe someone listening to this is, hey, I made my first million. I'm content. But there's this big thing of, actually, I heard this from one of our teammates, and it's such a simple saying that success is not final. And that really resonated with me because, I've seen some success and then realized, oh shit, now it's gone. When you do hit that momentum, how do you keep it?
My theory is that, and the reason why I created the Unlock the Leader method is because you will get hit with a train in your life. My mom had a stroke. We had to go through IVF 2 times, and the first time it didn't work out. My father passed away 2 years ago. As a leader, life is going to hit you hard in the face. And it's not about being in flow. It's about looking at the keys that we talk about and saying, man, if I just grab key number 8 and I can unlock this door and I can keep moving forward. Right? A great example of this is probably 4 months ago. My wife was saying that I was very negative. I was just being like negative for some reason. And so I started working on my compassion, which is like the 8th thing that I talk about, which is compassion. Like, how do I have more compassion towards myself, towards the process, towards who I've been and what I'm becoming in my wife. And so I started working on that. It was like, boom, and it unlocked because I knew what I needed, what key I had to grab, what lock it had to go into, and then, okay, let's keep moving forward. Right? And when you learn the method, which I'll talk about at the conference, you get to actually say, okay, I can't do everything, but something's going on with my character. I'm out of integrity. Let me grab that key. Someone's going on with my consistency. Let me grab that key and work on it. And then when you put them all together, this isn't a system to just work all together all the time. It's to be able to have the tools to use when you come into that situation. When my father passed away, I had to give myself the grace and the compassion of saying things are just not going to be okay for the next year or so. And that's fine. But it wasn't until I took out that key and I was like, oh, like I was stressed out. Business wasn't working out. Things weren't, right. I was angry, all this type of stuff. And then I just was like, you gotta have some compassion for yourself. And it was like, oh, shoulders down, baggage gone. Let's work on that to move forward.
It's interesting. I think, weren't we there at the event together when you almost had that compassion moment where for BDB, and then since then I've seen a lot of just like really big momentum movement since. So it's kind of cool to see it from seeing you apply the keys that you have. As a lot of the people listening to this, they're commercial cleaners. So a lot of the times you got to carry keys. I really like the idea that if I need this specific item, I go to this specific box. If I need to get the big thing, I got to go to the main janitor closet. If not, I just need the doors to the key. How to unlock the code? I think it's really cool that I hear a lot of speakers saying like you have to have everything together, right? Like, and your fitness and this and this and this and this. And I've had it where sometimes I'm in a slump and I'm like, okay, I need to wake up early. I need to work out. I need to eat right. I need to do this. I need to read. And then it just becomes like this big, big list of everything, quote unquote, that I need to do, but I don't do anything. And then when I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to show up to the gym and I'm actually just going to carry big weights to push myself. Like nothing else matters right now. And then that makes me want to push myself here and here. If without speaking to him too much, Yigal, what are those keys? Give us some sneak peek, because now I'm sitting here with a chain and I have no keys to put on there. I need some keys to put on there.
So I've been hinting at them throughout the conversation, right? You've got clarity, you've got courage, you have commitment, you have condition, you have character, you have compassion, you have consistency. They're all C's, just so that I can remember them, by the way. And like you said, like having everything together as a business owner, a leader in your business isn't easy because you're dealing with a lot in your life. Like I've got 3 girls, 7, 4, and 1.5. There are some nights that we don't sleep because the 1.5-year-old woke up and this one puked and this one has a fever. So to show up to work and have it all together, man, come on. But what I can do is I can take, the key of clarity and be like, okay, what is it that I need today? What's one thing that I just need to do today to get so that I have some momentum moving forward? Condition. Do I need a nap? Do I've got to take, some vitamins so I don't get sick? How do I take care of myself if I haven't slept for 4 days because my girls have been sick? Right?
I love that.
So you just got to look at the keys and be like, okay, this is the key that I need right now. You can't take all of them. All of them is like a training I do for 2.5 days or 8 weeks. Like we dive in, we unlock the whole thing. And then it's about it's supporting. Like when somebody comes in as a commercial cleaner, it's about maintenance, right? You come in, you clean the first time. It was probably dirty. Nobody had the cleaning. So you do this deep clean carpets, whatever it is that you do. And then you maintain. It's kind of the same thing here. You deep dive into unlocking your leadership and then you maintain. And that maintenance keeps growing.
That's good stuff. And again, relatable. I'm a dad of a 5 and a 2-year-old. So yeah, those sleepless nights are real. And then just busyness between business and parenthood become really real. And I know a lot of people that listen to this show also juggle that. I'm curious, Yigal, where you get your leadership from now. As a leader, where do you look?
So my biggest teacher are my daughters. I made many posts about that. My father passed away at 69 years old 2 years ago, Parkinson's and dementia. His business was a multi-million-dollar business, 180 employees. And he always worked saying, I'm going to travel in the future. I'm going to play with my grandkids in the future. Let me build now and travel into the future. When he got Parkinson's and dementia and couldn't even wipe his own butt and had to have caregivers, I realized that leadership isn't just about making more money and growing your team, but it's about being present for your family. Your family doesn't care if you're wearing a Rolex or a Casio. They care that you show up. And so my daughters, they don't care if I sold $100 today or $1 million today. They want me to show up with a smile on my face, being able to carry and play with them, have fun with them. They want me to love their mother and show that love, right? They want me to be present and be there, not on my phone trying to close deals. So they're my biggest leadership training I've ever had. And I've had tons of leadership training, courses, mastermind, you name it, right? But when I look at my family, I need to lead to grow my business, yes, but most importantly, to lead my family and to be present. And if I don't lead, it falls apart. And so that's where I get my motivation, my inspiration to be able to do this.
What's the biggest lesson your new leadership trainers have taught you so far? And by that I mean your daughters, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So the biggest lesson is that it doesn't matter what happened to me today. What matters is how I show up. And basically with them. I've had, I'll give you one of the biggest wake up moments in the last 8 months. And again, I'm a leader and I still have to take my keys and unlock the leadership, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was we have a playroom upstairs where all the toys are. My daughters were playing and I was on my phone. And my daughter's like, hey, Bobby, can I have a piece of paper? I said, sure, here's a piece of paper. Can I have some markers? Yeah, can I have some scissors? I'm like, okay. This got serious with some scissors, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, just be careful. 10 minutes later, my daughter sits next to me on the couch and she cut out a little piece of paper. She drew a phone and she was emulating me, taking on the phone, picking it up. And I just looked over
God.
and I was like, holy crap. I threw my phone, like I threw it across the room. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't. What am I doing? And so that was one of my biggest learning lessons. Like, they are watching everything that I do. And if I want them to be present for whoever there is, if I want them to be healthy, if I want them to not be overwhelmed, stressed out, that's how I have to show up.
Yes.
And yes, do we need money? Listen, I'm a capitalist. Do we need money? Do I want to make more money? Do I want to have a nicer things? Of course, 100%. But I can't give up on this side. And that's where true leadership shows, is if you can do it both in both places. And we call that the epic effect. If you can like lead life, lead business, it's just amazing if you can do that.
I'm pretty sure James is gonna have a bunch of questions, so I'm not gonna interrupt here.
Yeah, I'm just now I'm just selfishly getting a one-on-one counseling session. So
Please do. That's what, dude, this is literally me when I just reach out to him. I'm like, all right, let me take notes in case he answers.
yeah, so I'll just be super transparent. I've struggled mightily with business and personal life because I have like this. I love work. I love business, and pre-kids, that's all I did, right? I just work all the time. That's where I found my joy. And I tell people all the time, I struggled early on as a father because, man, it slapped me in the face, right? I was so selfish. And then I fell in love with the process and became intentional in being a good father. And I take a lot of pride in that. But now it's like, okay, I've really confined myself between like working like 8 to 4 Monday through Friday. It is what it is, and that's where it stops. Work stops, quote unquote, supposedly at 4 p.m. That really just means I step away from the damn computer. But being present, like you talked about your daughter and her cutting out the cell phone, being present is where I've struggled, and I believe a lot of people listening probably can relate to this. How do you disconnect, be present? Because it is hard, at least for me, to switch from business mode. I work from home, and then in 15 minutes have to switch to dad mode and forget about the fires that might be happening at business and listen to my 4-year-old talk about whatever, and then go into play mode. Like, how do you juggle that?
First and foremost, you're not alone. Right? I want you to know that a lot of people probably listening to this are going through the same thing. And it's the notion that it's got to be balanced. And it's the notion that you said, I'm in work mode 8 to 4, and then I come home. I'm not in work mode 8 to 4. I work about 8 to 4, 9 to 4 some days. I'm in success in my life mode.
I like that.
And so I text my wife and I'm intentional about how do I connect with her, right? Hey, babe, how are you? I love you. How's it going? And then she'll be with my daughters and we'll FaceTime. And what's going on? What are you guys doing today? Okay, I'll be home at 4 o'clock and we're going to do this together. So I'm not just like separate business and family and that's it. You can't do it. It's not healthy to do that. Because if you're working 8 to 4, you come home. What time does your child go to sleep?
Yeah, about 8:30.
About 8:30. So come home, you eat, you shower, whatever, connect with your spouse, and you've got 4 hours with them when you've been in work mode for 9 hours of the day. It's hard to just switch it off. And no one's asking you to switch it off. To be off when you're an entrepreneur is very tough. To be fully off, right? You're still thinking ideas. You might get that deal. Did that work? That's fine. But it's not okay to be sitting with your kid and not being there, not being present, not looking them in their eyes.
Correct.
My father, when I go back to my father, who built a multi-million-dollar business, and he wasn't very present. When I was a kid, I didn't care I didn't care what car he drove. I was like, just come home and play. It doesn't matter. And if you're like, oh, I can't really play, I'm really stressed out. F you. It's not their fault that you got stressed out at work today. So what I do to kind of transition is I get home, I get in my car. Sorry, I get out of work, I get in my car, and since I'm getting out of work, I'm already planning. What are we gonna do? How's it gonna go? I'm switching it before I even get out of work, right? I'm in my car. I'm not listening to a podcast. I'm not listening to business. I'm listening to music that makes me happy. And then I get home, and somebody taught me this recently, which is amazing. I'm Jewish, so there's we have something called like a mezuzah, which is like a scroll that goes on the door. And so like I have an opportunity to like pause and think, okay, when I walk out the door of my house, how am I going to make a difference? That's what people teach. How are you going to make a difference when you go out into the world? When I go back into my house, before I walk in, I have to ask myself, how am I going to make a difference in my family's life when I walk back in? And when I'm mindful of that, I'm mostly present. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect by any means. But before I walk through the door and ask myself, how am I going to make a moment, a memory, make a difference in my family's life? You walk in with a different demeanor to you.
I love these. I love
Yeah,
this. I
I'm
don't
just
know.
taking
Start
notes
taking
right now.
notes up in here. Yeah. I got, one of my favorite podcast episodes from Brad Lee on his podcast. He's like in the middle of the recording, right? And like multi-million-dollar guy on the other side, like super successful. And the guy's just going, the guest. And then Bradley's like, hold on, hold on, hold on. And everybody's like, what the? And then he like picks up the phone and then he's like, what's up? What's up, baby? How are you? And then he's like, okay, sounds good. No worries. Hey, I'm at a podcast, so let me call you later, okay? Okay. And he's like, sorry, every time my daughter calls or my daughters call, I'll pick up no matter what I'm doing. And he's like, if it's not an emergency, that's why I'll ask. Then I'll tell them, hey, I'm in a podcast, or hey, I'm in a business deal. Hey, I'm doing this. I'll call you back. I was like, but God forbid. Oh, he's like, I would hate that one time they call and I don't answer. It was because they actually needed me. So I'm always gonna be there. And he said that once, and I was like, and he like in the middle of the podcast, he's done it like 3 or 4 times, and he's like, I'll call you back, no worry. Like I'm like, damn. And so like you're saying these things, and I love you get out, you go into work, and I'm like, what's my intention for today? What impact am I gonna make? You go into the room, you go into a house, most people, and I still remember my dad, it would be more like, who's gonna serve me when I come in here, right? Like if you walk in, who's gonna make me food? What do you guys need? Is everything clean? And it's like, no. Flip it. What's your value inside of this household when you walk in? That's deep, man.
I mean, realize you're walking in and there's something called emotional contagion. And emotional contagion is studied in psychology that says that however you walk into a room, your emotional state is what you give off to the people in the room. So if you walked in upset into your business, angry, how is the customer service going to be to your client? Your team's going to be like, oh, something's going on. The business is going bad, blah, blah. And they're going to get kind of weary and scared. If you walk into your house, you're like, business sucked and this is horrible and I'm hungry and serve me food and I'm exhausted and let me just put my feet up. And that's the emotional contagion that you give off to your family. You become the a-hole. I don't know if I can cuss on this thing or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You become the asshole daily to your family. So you're bringing them money, but you're also bringing them stress. So you're feeding food with like shit on the spoon.
Yeah.
You're like, but I'm providing. But you're providing nourishment with crap all over it. Yes, they'll survive. But will they enjoy?
They're gonna be sick.
They're going to be sick. Exactly.
Oh shit, dude, I'm sorry, but these metaphors are like, I'm just getting like slapped left and right now. Oh my god. And this is just a sneak peek of you talking, huh? Okay,
Yeah.
I might just pay you to come down here before the event. Cause, oh my god, dude, that is so true. You're not wrong at all on the whole like providing thing, right? Like, oh, I'm providing. That's it. That's all. That's it. I'm providing, and it's like, that's not. We always say. I remember one of our favorite clients. He said it the best. He's like, I'm sorry, but why am I gonna go sell my account on cleaning? I'm gonna keep this place clean. He's like, dude, that's the freaking expectation. That's what they're hiring me for. I'm gonna clean. That doesn't mean anything. And every time I remember still that line because it's like what you're saying. Like, you're a dad or even a husband. you're a boyfriend, whatever it is, you have a purpose there, and it's not to provide. That's one of the expectations that comes with the position, with the territory, but it is not what you give, right? That's huge, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you a
Yeah.
question. How
Sure.
do you separate it? So we got business, we got dad. Let's talk about the real one. How do you, if you're a business and a dad, how do you become husband mode? Because that's three different little hats. Well, one hat which is success in life. I love that. It's not work mode. It's not dad mode. It's all of it. What are some key things that whoever's listening right now, as a wife or a husband, can look into that you're like, oh, hold on, I might be falling short here.
Again, I go back to being intentional. The focus for that we do is a daily practice. So my intentionality is, how am I going to show love to my wife today? And I know my wife's love language. And so I text her and I call her and I say, hey, how you doing? Or I'll give you a great example. This week, my daughters didn't have camp. So she took them while I was working to the zoo, to SeaWorld, and I showed up like a little bit later in the day to go with them. But yesterday I just texted her and I said, hey, I just want to honor you and thank you for being an incredible mom and taking the 3 daughters to the zoo and SeaWorld. I'm like, you're super mom. Thank you. And when I got home, she's like, thank you so much for that text message, because I know it's not easy. Is it expected of her? Yeah. But is it easy? Absolutely not. And so I've got to show compassion. One of the keys. How do I show more compassion towards my wife? I'm providing. The meal needs to be hot and ready, and the house needs to be clean, and that's it. And I've got to show compassion. It's not easy what she does. And so when I see her, when I'm intentional about how I want her to see me and me see her, that's how my husband mode gets better. Hey, marriage, ups and downs. I don't have the perfect marriage. There's no such thing. Anybody who sells you that crap is a liar, right? I'll say some dumbass shit, and my wife will be like, you are an idiot. Or she'll be like, hey, coach, what happened, coach? Right? What happened to leadership? She calls me out. She's very smart. But I've been a lot more intentional about asking, like, how do we make this better? What is it that's going to make you happy in this relationship? And then I just follow through.
I have a question that is gonna spark some controversy. So I'm gonna let James ask anything that we tend to like back and forth here. Our brains are so different. That's why we work so well together. James, do you have any questions before I throw a really controversial question out here?
I'll let you go ahead. Now I'm curious.
I know it's okay, because I only asked this question. It might not be as controversial as I thought, but it's definitely a topic that has different views on it. So let's pick. I want to talk about priorities. So you're talking about intentional. You're talking about success in life. There has to be a point where, like, there's no way business again, and business might not be above God. Business will not be above family, or would it? I'm trying to figure out how you guys line up priorities, because I've heard two views on this one in particular. They say husband before dad, and then there's other people that say no. Once you have kids, it doesn't matter. Like, husband is officially out the window. It's dad, and then we'll see if we have time for husband. I know you would say balance both, but I'm curious. Like, do you, because you were married first and then had kids, does your marriage always come first before the kid? Like, how does that work? I don't. I've heard both sides. I'm just curious, as a guy that's about to get married and hopefully later have kids, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
I will say, I'm going to give you a controversial answer.
Please.
I hate the word priorities.
Oh, yes. Okay, this is fun. Okay.
Because it makes it seem like something is more important than the other. Right now, this podcast, this is my priority. Because I'm here, right? Hey, if my phone rings off and they need me at home, I'm like, guys, thank you so much. I got to go. Or like Bradley, he picked up the phone. At the moment that his phone rang, that was his priority. So this whole thing, like, it's not like I'm not your priority or this isn't my priority. I hate that, dude. I don't have, like, my life is my priority. My marriage, my kids, my business, my friendships. It's all in my priority. I just allot different time to it during the day.
I knew
probably the
this was gonna
best
be a
answer.
best fucking answer
Yeah.
possible. I knew this was gonna come from this. I didn't know that amazing, but that was good. So I like that. Your priority is one, context. It's in context. It
Yep.
depends what I'm doing, what my life has been, right? Like if I have all the money and right now my wife feels lonely, then my full priority is when I'm with my wife. She's my priority when I'm with my kids. That's a really good answer. I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever, even with gurus, or I'm not gonna say gurus, even with like leadership coaches and things like that, I don't think I've ever heard somebody say, "Screw priority." Like it does that. There's no. It's not that there's no priorities, but I'm not gonna pick something over something else because of
Yeah.
the stack that I have it under.
Like
That makes
how do
sense.
how do I compare? Like I'm not going to say husband first because that says my daughters are less of a priority. I love my wife. I'm going to do everything to have an epic relationship and a great marriage, right? But do I have to give up being a kick-ass dad for that? That's what priority sounds like. And I'm not okay with that. I'm just not. I'm going to be a kick-ass husband, a kick-ass dad, and a kick-ass entrepreneur. That's my priority, bro.
Your priority is success in life, like you said.
Yeah.
Life in general. I love
Yeah.
that.
I think that's really well said, man. Sometimes people give diplomatic answers, and it can kind of skate by. And I give them kudos for the diplomatic answer, but that one it's like relatable. So you golf for president, and that's my vote right
That's
now.
Well, I wasn't born in the States, so I can't do that,
what
but I
what is
appreciate
what
it.
is the end goal though for Epic Effect and Liderato? What is the big vision, man? Now
Man,
I'm obviously not president, so like what's the big vision here?
yeah, so my personal mission statement is to build a legion of leaders so that my daughters grow up in a better world. Like that's my goal. And I know that like by unlocking leadership and the work that I do, I'm going to make better humans who build better businesses, who in turn take their responsibility as a business owner or a business leader to a whole different meaning. What do I mean by that? When you are a business leader, when you actually lead your business, you affect your team, which affects their family, which affects their friends, which affects your community. And it's a bigger circle that goes out from the way you show up. And so my biggest thing is I want to be able to help business leaders not forget about get past what happened in their past. Focus on the now and be able to lead the places in their life that matter to them most. And in doing that, you build a better business, you have a better relationship, and your surroundings become better. And so that's my goal. I've always wanted to help people. For a long time, I was a business coach. I was helping businesses grow, and I know all of the P&Ls and the marketing and the strategies and the, all that stuff. I know all culture. I know that stuff. But when my clients gave me feedback and I asked, hey, what was the success that you had? And they said, yes, you made me a lot more money, but it was because you made me a better leader. And I was like, that's the focus. And so that's the goal.
Boom. I love it. James, any final questions before I ask him I know we're coming into time here when I ask him the magic ending question of our podcast, but do you have any questions before we
No, I
wrap?
just want to thank you, Yigal. This has been one of my favorite podcasts that we've done here on this show, and look forward to meeting you, brother, in November. And so glad that you're joining and being part of our event. So yeah, just thank you for the time today.
My pleasure and honored that you guys
Dude,
invited me.
I'm excited, man. I've known you for a while now, a good amount of time. I was like, nah, it's just all fluff. Just kidding, no, bro. I've seen you impact some lives, man. And I still remember seeing those videos, like those clips where you were speaking at a mastermind, and I was like, what the? Like, I think he had a bunch of stuff on it. It was really interesting, and I was like, James, we got to get this guy out here, and James agreed, and now we're gonna get you out here, and I'm super pumped, man, because you have companies 30 million, 20 million, 15 million, 5 million, 300 employees, 800 employees, and yet the only one out of all of them, the only few of them that I've heard speak was one of the largest is going is like my whole thing now is evolving as a leader. And like he said it, he's like, I don't care. I have a team for P&Ls. I have a team for marketing. I need to just keep evolving as a leader. And I just thought that was like, okay. And so I'm excited to have you here, man, because I know he's gonna be like, I spoke to that one guy. I'll tell you later who he is, but he's like, out of all your speakers, even though I'm a speaker, he's like, I'm really intrigued by this Yigal Adato guy. So I'm excited to introduce you. With that being said, man, we have some really lazy people in this world, you go, unfortunately. And so we're gonna put on some captions. It's gonna be optimized. You're gonna come out. It's gonna be listened, and they're gonna be like, you know what, this Yigal guy seems pretty cool. I searched him up. The podcast looks like it's banging, but I'm not gonna listen to this whole 45 minutes or an hour with him because I don't know if he's for real. I'm just gonna skip to the end of the podcast. I'm gonna see what he has to say real quick and see if it's worth going back. So if somebody had to judge your whole podcast just by that one sentence you're about to give me or one teaching, and you would want them, that would trigger them enough to go listen to the whole podcast. What would that one lesson, one teaching, one quote, one something, one question would be?
I'd go back to what I said almost in the beginning of the podcast, which is leading with baggage is misleading. If you are leading with baggage that you are not taking care of, you are doing a disservice to your team, to your clients, and most importantly, your family. And it's not fair for you to be that selfish to not work on it.
Boom. If that doesn't make you want to go hear the whole podcast, I don't know what will. We really need like sound effects in this thing, man. We gotta figure this out. But
I know.
man, Yigal, once again, man, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. And I know that you just impacted a bunch of commercial cleaning companies and listeners. So I really appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you
thank you.
guys. It's been a great time.
Thanks for joining.